It started with a sentence I never thought I'd hear from my wife. "From now on," she said without looking up from her phone, "intimacy only once every 3 months." I was halfway through setting down my coffee mug when the words hit. For a moment I thought she was joking. The tone was too flat, too casual for what she was saying. But when I caught her expression, blank, almost bored, I realized she meant it. I stared at her, searching for a hint of playfulness, something to tell me I'd misunderstood. "You're serious?" I shrugged. "It's just, I don't feel that connection anymore. Not like before. Maybe giving it space will help." The room went quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator. The silence felt heavy, thick with something unsaid. I wanted to argue, to ask what I'd done wrong, but the words tangled in my throat. Instead I just nodded. "If that's what you want." She didn't even look up. That night, I lay awake next to her, listening to the sound of her breathing. It was steady, distant. I reached out once, almost touching her shoulder, but stopped halfway. She'd made her decision, so I made mine. If she wanted distance, I'd give her distance. For 3 months I didn't ask. I didn't touch. I didn't even hint at wanting her. We still shared the same house, the same bed, but it felt like living with a stranger who wore my wife's face. First she seemed relieved. There was a lightness in the way she moved, a quiet comfort in knowing I wasn't pushing for affection. But slowly that comfort turned into something else, distraction maybe. She spent more time on her phone, texting late at night, smiling at messages she never explained. When I asked, she'd brush it off. Just work stuff. Work stuff that made her laugh under her breath at midnight. Work stuff that she'd step outside to answer, whispering on the porch with her back to the door. I noticed everything, but I said nothing. I told myself I was being paranoid, that she was allowed to have a life outside of me, that maybe I was just jealous of whatever happiness I'd failed to give her. But the unease built quietly, a slow poison. By the end of the first month, our dinners had become wordless. By the second, I'd stopped trying to make conversation. By the third, I barely recognized the person sitting across from me. She'd started wearing perfume again, the one she used to wear when we first met. She'd come home with a faint scent of cigarette smoke clinging to her hair, though she'd never been a smoker. I remember standing at the sink one evening, watching her through the window as she laughed into her phone on the patio. The sound was light, intimate, like the way she used to laugh with me. That's when I decided. I wasn't going to ask. I was going to find out. The next day I left work early. Told my boss I wasn't feeling well. On the drive home, I rehearsed what I might say if I caught her lying, but none of it felt real. When I pulled into the driveway, her car was there, but the lights inside the house were off. I stepped in quietly. The faint scent of her perfume still hung in the air, mixed with something else. Sweat, cologne that wasn't mine. My chest tightened. I moved slowly down the hallway, each step heavier than the last. The bedroom door was half shut. Through the gap, I saw shadows moving, 2 of them. A woman's sigh. A man's low voice. My body went numb. I don't remember pushing the door open, but suddenly I was standing there, staring at the scene that shattered everything I thought I knew. He froze. He turned, startled, then scrambled to grab his shirt from the floor. I couldn't even speak. The sound that left me wasn't a word. It was something raw and broken. She covered herself with the blanket, eyes wide with terror. "Ryan, wait, it's not." "Not what?" My voice cracked, rising. "Not what it looks like. Because it looks exactly like what it is." The man, Mark, a coworker of hers I'd met once at a company event, mumbled something about leaving, but I didn't even hear him. He was gone within seconds, leaving the door swinging open behind him. She tried to reach for me, but I stepped back. The distance between us felt like a canyon. "Why?" finally asked. My voice sounded small, broken. Was it me? Was I not enough? Tears welled in her eyes. "It's not like that. You stopped trying, Ryan. You didn't care anymore." I laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. "You told me not to. You said you needed space. I gave it to you." She looked down, shaking. I thought maybe I'd miss you. Maybe the distance would make me want you again. But then you found someone else. She didn't answer. And that silence said more than anything else could have. I walked out. I didn't take my keys, my wallet. Nothing. I just walked. It was raining, soft and cold. The streetlights blurred through the water in my eyes. I kept moving, hands shoved into my pockets, until I ended up at the park down the road where we used to walk our dog. I sat on the empty bench under the flickering lamppost and tried to make sense of what had just happened. Part of me wanted to hate her. Another part still loved her. Pathetically, stubbornly, completely. I thought about all the nights I'd stared at her back, wondering what she was thinking. All the times I'd wanted to reach for her but stopped myself. I'd convinced myself that waiting, respecting her boundary, was the right thing to do. But now I realized the truth. She hadn't wanted space. She'd wanted freedom. From guilt, from confrontation, from the version of us that had already started dying long before that conversation. When I finally went home hours later, the house was dark. She was gone. Only her ring sat on the kitchen table, next to a folded note that read, "I didn't mean to hurt you. I just couldn't feel anything anymore." I stared at it until the words blurred. 3 months ago, I thought silence would keep us together. I thought if I gave her what she asked for, she'd come back to me. But silence doesn't fix what's already broken. It just hides the sound of it falling apart. I never saw her again after that night. People asked what happened, and I told them the truth, stripped of emotion like reading lines from someone else's story. She said she wanted space, I'd say. And I gave it to her. But what I really meant was this. I gave her silence, and in that silence I lost her completely.